like.
All right, everybody. This is Mr. M.I.E.ing again, here with my partner in success, Mr. Charles Green. Charles just started out asking me a question. I thought this may be a conversation that may be good for our ride to SAU this morning that some of you may be interested in. Charles, tell them what your question was. Tell them about your relative dilemma.
All right, so I have an individual that I know, and they came to me asking a question about their resume. They said that they felt like they had all the right things in their resume in terms of what they've done, what they did, and what they're doing right now. They felt like that the information in their resume was relative to the jobs they were trying to get. They felt like in terms of every area of expertise that they claimed to be good in, they felt like that there wasn't a great response from employers in regards to their resume. So they are somewhat frustrated about what else can they do to their resume, because they're just trying to figure out, like, how do I get somebody to pull my resume out of the stacks of so many other resumes. So of course, I was able to kind of provide some advice, but I know that you have some expertise in building resumes. So if this individual were in this car with us right now, what kind of advice would you give that person in terms of, making your resume more attractable, making your resume more highlighted among other resumes?
I think that as opposed to giving them some advice, I think the first thing I'd do, I'd ask them a couple of questions. One of the main things I want to know is are you highlighting your accomplishments on your resume? I think a lot of times when we develop resumes, we just put our basic job duties on there, like in charge of or responsible for the production team, developed different programs, things of that nature. I think that we do those things a lot of times as opposed to highlighting the accomplishments, such as I was the first who did this, I was the youngest who did this, I reduced production time by 30%, I generated revenue of $120 million in the first 6 months. I think those are the types of things that stand out to employers these days. For instance, let's say you took a high school teacher in one school and another high school teacher in a very different school, and they were applying for the same job at a third school, and they had very similar teaching duties and responsibilities. Their academic backgrounds very similar, the schools they went to very similar. So the question is, how do they make themselves stand out? Well, what if one of these teachers had received the Teaching Award, Teachers of the Year Award? That's one accomplishment. They taught more students successfully than any other teacher in their district in their first year. That's another accomplishment. Their students increased their reading scores by 25% on the national reading exam. That's another accomplishment. So I think things like that would help that teacher be separated from the other teacher in their just general duties. So I think you may list your general duties on your resume, but before you do that, you would want to highlight any accomplishments, any numbers that you have, any adjectives that you can use, such as first, better, most, greatest, things of that nature that you can substantiate. Now, these are obviously things that you don't want to say if you don't have proof of those things. The second thing is less important, but it's always nice. What does your resume look like? Is it attractive? Do people, when they see it, like, oh, that's a nice resume, without even having read it? So I think that you have to put some effort into making your resume attractive. Now, I'm not saying put a lot of color into it, because that's really not accepted unless you're a graphics person or someone who is in the creative area arenas. If that's the case, then those things would be acceptable, but I think you still can find ways to make it more attractive. And then also, if you divided your resume into from top to bottom into 5 sections, or based on space. And you got the first fib, the second fib, so forth and so on. Then I would think that part in between your first finger and your thumb would be needs to pack the most punch, because busy people who are looking at actual physical resumes are busy. And so you need to put that most powerful information in between that first finger and your thumb, and that's going to be what catches their attention. That's what they're going to look at. And if that's powerful, then they'll decide whether or not they want to look at the rest of your resume. Since we've gone to, we're using LinkedIn a lot and other electronic platforms such as Career Builder and Monster to apply for jobs, I think it's also important that you put keywords in your resume, or maybe you put a string of keywords at the bottom of your resume that would be attractive, that the system would attract based on that job that you're applying for. One thing that a lot of people do forget to do is that one resume doesn't fit every job. So every time you apply for a different job, and especially in a different industry, you need to change your resume. You got to change it to fit that job. You've got to change it to fit what the employer is looking for. You don't just go and copy and paste the job description and put it in your resume. That's not what I'm saying. But you highlight the skills or experiences that you have that lend themselves well to that specific job or industry. So I think if you do those things, and of course there are some other things that you can do, but I think if you do those things, that it would help you be a better candidate for the position that you're applying for.